Hello, welcome to 2021. I hope you had an amazing celebration last night or this morning, whatever that was for you, and you are ready to really go after this beautiful ambition to make 2021 your best year ever. So to get started, those who are on the Zoom with us would love to hear just one lesson learned, and you don't have to tell me, you can just pop it in the chat log, I'll pop over there and say it, whatever it is. One lesson learned as you reflect back on 2020. And I'm going to start with mine. My number one lesson was I never realized how much fun I could have just staying home. Some of you who know, if you've been here or have heard from me, I went through and had some what we call COVID boredom. I went through and I lit up the house with these hue lights. These lights that you can control from your phone. They're like 16 million different colors. So it's like a light show. People are like, oh my gosh, my daughter is like, oh my gosh, Dad, are you serious? I was in the bathroom and the light show's going on. Dad, stop. I'm having some fun with that. I went through and I really dove deep on gaming. Something I used to love to do, video gaming in particular, back when I was young. And really made that a thing. And we're going to go through and talk this out for you today about how I think about the way that I game and try to make the world a better place through it. So that being said, I'd love to see any lessons that you've learned from 2020. Go through, share in the comments. Whether you're watching us live on Facebook or in our exclusive Zoom, whatever it is for you, would love to hear. That being said, the goal today is this. Make sure if you have that worksheet, it's going to look like something like this. It's going to have an M for more, an L for less, an S for start, and an S for stop. If you don't have the worksheet, that's totally fine. Get a blank sheet of paper, a napkin, toilet paper, whatever it is for you, and go through and write that out. Because what I want to make sure of is by the time we're done with our work today, that you have a very clear idea of what you want more of in 2021, what you want to do maybe less of, or see less of, or feel less of in 2021, what habits, behaviors, maybe hobbies that you want to start, what kind of things you want to stop. You know, there's a couple things that I need to tone down a little bit, and I'll get into those as we work through this together. But I'm going to give you a lot of lenses to look through this more or less start, stop, work with. Does that sound okay? Thank you so much for being here. I got to tell you what, getting up on New Year's Day, going after this, really making sure I'm serving, supporting, taking care of you is such a blessing for me, because as I was getting ready, I was thinking, you know what's amazing about this? Is it forces me to really dive deeper on my vision and my articulation of why things are important. And here's what I've learned, if you haven't heard my story, is that when I went through my big shift in 2011 and 2012, where I lost the weight, got way more energy consistently, and then, in my opinion, became a much better dad and a much better person in relationships, it was all about the depth of the why. Making sure I was clear on my why, what I really wanted to do and why. And the easiest way for me to describe this to you is I got very clear on who I wanted to be 10 years from now, my future vision. And then I got sensorial about it. Does that make sense? Like to think about what I wanted to hear from other people, what I didn't want to hear, what I wanted to see in the mirror, what I wanted to not see in the mirror, what I wanted to taste, what I had to grow to like to eat. So if you know me, I'm eating out of the rainbow most of the time. I think maybe a little fell off in the last couple of weeks, but I'm right back on it. And that doesn't mean eating Skittles, sugary snacks. That means eating greens, kale, spinach, red peppers, oranges, these kind of things. Lots of veggies and some fruit, and keeping all that in check. But I got really clear about that. Every year, and I have yet to do it this year, but every year I go through and I either reread or I go through my notes from that book, that beautiful book by Bronnie Ware called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. Let me make sure that we're showing the right screen here if we can. Spotlight, there we go. Yeah, perfect. So the biggest part of The 5 Regrets of the Dying read is, for me, is to assure that I'm clear on what Bronnie, the author of the book, shared with 30 years in hospice, interviewing people on their way out of this life, reflecting back on their life. Just a couple of those things that really keep me going. And an idea for you as we start this conversation today was, one of the regrets was, didn't realize it was a choice for me to be happy. I let other people kind of dictate whether I was happy or not. And so what I've thought through, and I challenge you this right out of the gate as you think this through for you, is what is your word of the year for 2021? So give it a moment here, and then I'll tell you mine. But what is your word of the year for 2021? A lot of high performers that are in our world, some of them in our Zoom, they already have that sorted because that's what they do. At the high performance level of life, we sit down and, I usually do this around Thanksgiving, and I look at it, I go, okay, wait a minute. If we're going into the new year, what do I really need to commit to feel better about life, feel better about business, feel better about helping you? And what is that word? You got something? You're thinking of something? So my word of 2021 is happiness. I don't know about you, but I can get far in my head. That's what I call it. Where you get intellectual and you get pulled down this road of like, maybe you add a lot of stress to yourself. Maybe Lucas and I talk a lot about this, where we're so hard on ourselves, we're like, we sometimes forget to have joy and happiness, to manifest that. I don't know if that helps at all, but I just want to make sure. If you're struggling with that, especially with 2020 and how that showed up, you're not alone. So happiness is my word of the year for 2021, and I'd love to know what it is for you. Anything coming up for you? What do we have here? Ooh, restoration, freedom, courage, clarity. Oh, and I love, Sister Amy says, going back to the previous thing, the true value of community and the importance of deep relationships. That's what her lesson learned from 2020 was. So thanks guys for sharing and rocking it out with me this way. I love this. We're streaming all over the place, going after it. So as you think about that word of the year for 2021, and then you put it through the lens of that worksheet, what do you have to do more of to reach, to live that life? So for me, to have more happiness, what do I have to do more of? What should I do less of? What should I start doing? What should I stop doing? So immediately what comes to mind for me is I have to do more reading and sort of up my ante in my morning ritual. For me, I know my body as I'm aging needs more stretching. So my commitment for 2021 is to do some basic yoga moves and some basic stretching every morning to feel better, to feel happier that way, right? What I have to do less of, and I fell in this trap a couple times in 2020, and maybe you did too, where I was reading the news titles and I was getting sucked into the drama and stuff. I got to be really careful about reading certain things. So I have to do less randomized browsing, we'll call it. I have to do more intentional based browsing. Go to sources online that are inspirational, helpful towards my goals. What do I have to start doing? Kind of committed to that, but that's more stretching and a better morning ritual. I have a good morning ritual, but a better morning ritual. What do I have to stop doing? And I kind of already alluded to that on the left side, but that is just cut that drama. Those headlines can be so enticing, and they're so good at it. Making you think, I got to read that. Ooh. And they build that curiosity in the headline, something we teach in sales and marketing. So good. Sometimes you're just like, who are they talking about? And you click. And next thing you know, 5, 10, 20 minutes, 3 hours go by. You're down the rabbit hole of that. So the 3 big moves today, I'm going to get these out of the way right of the way as we think about them. And if you have your sheet of paper out, if you printed the worksheet, it's on the back is where you'd write these moves. And what I really want you to do is maybe do it landscape. So it's like this. And this can become something you frame. This can become something maybe after we're done with our training today that you rewrite, redraw. That is your guiding light for 2021. What does that mean? It means that, wherever you get up and you look at a wall, maybe you have that there to remind yourself, if I'm going to have the very best year ever for 2021, these are 3 areas that I need to really concentrate on. And I need to really get depth, behavioral changes with depth of articulation, meaning that you're clear on why these things matter to you. And I'll do my best to help you in the next hour here. But the idea is you have to come up with that for you. If you need any help, please know if you're in our mastery community, we have check-in calls. Please reach out to me via email, schedule one. If you're not in our mastery community for the first quarter of 2021, I'm doing discovery calls. These are 20-minute time where you and I sit down, talk something through for you, co-create an ambition, see how I can help, direct, or support you. Make sure you're going after it. So just as a frame for you, as you kind of create this vision for yourself, at least you have some support, some care, some love. And somebody to challenge you too, because that's a big part of this, right? Never understood the power of coaching until a decade ago when I first got coached in high performance. Then I became one. Now I've coached over, and I'm doing the math on this from the one-on-one side to the group side. I've coached over, it comes out to like 3,150 on one-on-one sessions in the last 8 years. 3,150 sessions. Yeah, that's like a ton a week. Still to this day, I'm doing anywhere from 18 to 22 a week. And this is just a part of me. I do it because I love it. And if I'm coaching you or I have coached you, you probably know I show up to the sessions every time, full energy, full presence, ready to go and rock it out with you. So really critical part of this is if you're gonna have your best year ever in 2021, consider getting an accountability buddy, somebody that can help you and you can assess. And I'll give you things to assess every week, maybe every day if it's something you're really struggling with, every month, every quarter, or minimally every year. Like at the end of the year, these are the metrics, the goals I want to hit, and breaking them down. I'll give you some tactics as we move through this for you. So kind of rising back out to the big picture here for you. The bigger lens of life, if you will. Here's what science, psychology, and sociology have all reported. And it kind of comes back to that book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And that is, when people feel they've had a great life, when people feel they've had a great year or a great day, there's usually 3 things that have happened. One is they've taken care of themselves. So the first big move to label that is me. And we're going to break this down for you so that you have certain words in each area that are your kind of maybe weak spots that need the most work, or your goals that you're trying to achieve. And I'll go through some ideas for you as we step into each of these circles. The second area is for others. So often, especially in the last year, people that have reported to me, dude, this year has been amazing. The reason they say that, kind of like what Amy shared in the chat, is because they realize the power of community and create relationships with others. If you happen to be a coach, or a thought leader, or a teacher, or an online course maker, or an author, or a writer, counselor, therapist, you know the power of this. But here's what we know. We cannot love others fully until we've loved ourselves, right? Does that all make sense? So there's got to be a bigger recipe in life. There's got to be a part where we're taking care of ourselves extremely well. There's got to be an area where we're contributing and helping others. I like to look at it through the lens of just having, what I like to say is create, build, and maintain just exceptional relationships. So let's pause for a minute and take a moment with what I just said. Maybe shut your eyes and think about this. Of all the people that are reaching out to you today, Happy New Year, my man, Happy New Year, my lady, Happy New Year to you. If you were to rate the quality of the relationship with them, 0, not good at all. We touch base every New Year. And at that, it's just, hey, to 10, I'm really understanding of them, empathetic, compassionate to them. And you were to put that in a document, let's just say a spreadsheet, and you put one person's name in every row, and then you put in the first column the rating of your relationship today with them. 0, not good at all. 10, owning it. My challenge for you is to really think about that. Who are the people in your life right now that today, as soon as we're done with this training, you're going to get a text out or a phone call to or a Zoom to just take that relationship rating up? Anything coming up for you? If in the context of business, you're really trying to grow in 2021, every great business is built on great relationships, right? Think about that for a minute. Every great business is built on great relationships. And I thought for a while that may not scale, but then I recognized the power of Apple, one of the biggest companies in the world. And I don't know about y'all, total side note, but I switched over to the Apple M1, Apple Silicon. For me, I'm running this one little MacBook Air right now is running all these things. It's Zooming us, it's streaming us to Facebook, it's recording this so I can replay it for the people who weren't able to make it, but they really want to get into this. And we're using the power of tech for that, right? But when I went to get those, even under the pandemic restrictions, they still gave me that one-on-one compassion, care, and love at the Apple Store. And you know how big they are. The power of great relationships. Does that all make sense? So far, we've got 2 areas we're going to kind of create our moves in. The first is us. We're kind of painting the big picture right now. The second is with others, right? And the third is, and you probably know this, I can smile at a lot of our high performers because they're like, we all know what this is, to the world. And I was Thanksgiving just a couple weeks ago, or a few weeks ago now. I'm sitting there with my Grandpa Doug, we call him, my amazing father-in-law, and we're watching David Attenborough's special on Netflix about the world. And we just happened to stumble into it. It wasn't like something we were going to watch. Like we didn't set an intention to watch it. And I realized that I do pretty well. I think I do like 8 out of 10 here, if I was to rate this. And we'll get into what I use to rate that in a minute. And I think I do really well here, being here with you in this moment, dedicating time, energy, and effort on New Year's Day, 2021, to really be present. And you'll learn my life theme here. Joyfully curious. I can't wait to dive into this chat log as I start to issue more challenges and so on, to really go after that for you. But I realize I'm ultra weak in how I'm helping the world be a better place. So my challenge for us, as we think about that area of where we can create some moves for us, what are you doing or what are you committed to? And maybe it isn't about, maybe you're like I am, it's a blank slate. Got it, there's things that need to be done in the world, I just don't know how I could even, apply myself to do them. So what I had to do is I thought this through before our training, is I had to think about things that really interest me, that I'm passionate about from a world perspective, from the earth perspective. And the way I perceive world is, am I increasing the quality of life on the planet, in the universe? By the end of every day, if I was to assess whether I was able to up-level that or say that I did something in that realm, did I do something that contributes to world health? Doesn't necessarily mean human health, but it usually relates to human health. Did I plant trees? Did I go out and endorse or help or volunteer in some way to people that I just don't know, right? That can fall into the others bucket. Did I go out and volunteer in this beautiful park that I always talk about in our trainings that I walk in to make that world a better place? I have a huge passion for astronomy. Huge. Like, give me Neil deGrasse Tyson on audiobook. As many of my family know, we'll listen to that in the car. And I'm just like, his voice is so awesome. And then the stuff, his book, what is it called? Intro to Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. I'm like running to that in the park. And he does a good job of like breaking it down and like, we'll call it middle school level intellect. But I'm still like, what? I don't even know what that word means. I have such a passion for that. But when I look at the sort of perspective of how I could help the world be a better place from what we know in the world of astronomy, there's some things that come to me for that. So I just want to make sure as we start this training here, we've painted a really great lens in the first 20 minutes. The lens through which to look at having an amazing 2020, at least from my perspective, change it if you want, but if you create a vision board around this, is 3 big areas. First, yourself. I like to think of that life theme as if I'm not loving myself, boy, am I going to suck at loving others, and I'm not going to be really loving on the world, am I? Putting goodwill in the world or helping the world be a better place. So we'll start there in a minute, and that's why this is in red. Because if we take care of ourselves, we can go out in the world, or to others, which is green, and I'll tell you why that is in a minute, and go to the world, which is blue ocean, health, happiness, world health, if you want to think of it that way. So with everything I've said, I'm going to pause for a minute. I want you to assess, are these 3 areas your vision for having your best year ever in 2021? And if they're not, go ahead and add some. We all understand, well, at least in high performance, we understand the power of 3s. Real critical. There's a psychological part to this where we have 3 things we're concentrating on. We can give it kind of the right amount of depth and energy and resource, and 3 is a magic number for that. Does that make sense? So what is it for you, though? These are mine. And I kind of feel from what science shows and what documentation and academics show is these are 3 critical areas to think about. Got to take care of myself. What am I doing there? We're going to break these down and get into details on these. Got to take care of others. We already gave you an exercise, the relationship piece. Who is it that's reaching out to you? Happy New Year in you today. That's you like, I haven't talked to them in a while. Let me get on a call with them. Let me go through and Zoom with them. Let me see what I can do to help or support them. And sometimes, as we teach in our business work, that call or Zoom or whatever it is, be like, hey, you know what I can help you there. At a business or professional level. I'm a coach, or I'm a counselor, or I'm a therapist, or I have somebody that can help you there if you're struggling there. And I got to tell you, and you may already know this, and you may be having this happen to you, there's a ton of people right now that are struggling in life. A ton of people. I think everybody has certain struggles. Some of them are really, debilitating, and they're really needing some help, but they're not the kind of people that ask for it, that ask for help. So that Zoom, that text, that email, that quick phone call, that might be a game changer for them for 2021. So real quick, you don't have to share this for those of you on the Zoom, but who are 3 people, we'll go back to the power of 3s, that you just know in your heart, your intuition's telling you, gotta reach out to them. I don't know if there's anything there, but intuitively I'm feeling something. And I've got my 3. And I've actually reached out to 1 already. So we just want to make sure we're dialing that in. Now at the world level, for me, I don't know yet what I'm going to do in 2021 to be of what I would feel of best benefit to the world, to make this year my best year ever, knowing that at the end of the year, if I could rate myself in these areas, that I'd give myself an 8 or a 9 or maybe a 10. Although I don't know that I ever give myself a 10 because I always feel like there's another level there. So maybe a 9.95. But at the world level, the first thing I got to do, the number one thing I've got to do is learn. I got to learn. I got to go back and watch David Attenborough's special. And in the last third of it, he talks about ways you can help. And then I need to do the diligence, what I call the research and development, to figure out, what am I going to do? What's my aspiration? What could I possibly do? The beauty is, through the power of that little laptop, we can reach lots of people. Another part of that beauty is I have a YouTube channel and it's growing pretty well. And there's a capacity for me to talk in a video and release a new video every week or every other week about things I'm doing to help the world be a better place. So there's a kind of platform, right, for that. And these are just some kind of quick, off the hip kind of things. But what I'd love to know, and for those of you on the call, I'd love for you to share, what is it for you that you really need to do and think about as your 3 big needle movers? The 3 big moves for you for the year. If you put this on a wall, if I just kept this whiteboard here, and every day you looked at it and said, all right, what am I doing to take care of me personally? To make sure I'm my best energetically, that I'm ultra clear about what I'm doing, that I have great energy, that, I'm courageous, I'm thinking through, I gotta have that conversation, I gotta post that thing, I gotta do what I did today, which is pretty courageous, go on Zoom and then stream to live to Facebook. I hope the technology works, and I hope everything's, and I'm coming across and making it happen for you, right? To create, build, and maintain exceptional relationships. And at the world level, what am I doing? What is that I'm doing? I like to think about it through the lens of unconditional love. What am I doing unconditionally to help the world be at a better place? What behavioral pattern, behavioral rhythm, set of habits, set of commitments do I need to do at the world level to really help the world be a better place? And maybe like me, you don't have the lens for that just yet. So we got to do some growing. So if any of you want to do a virtual Netflix party, I don't know how that works, but I guess you all watch the movie at the same time. And you might get on Zoom simultaneously and kind of like, whoa, pause the movie, let's talk that out. Please let me know. Comment if you're on our live. Comment if you're on Facebook. And say, Char, I want to join you on this learning of how we can make the world a better place. And we'll do what do they call that, a watch party? Since it's not exactly safe for most of the world right now to be doing any kind of gatherings, but we can do that virtually, right? To really help each other get there. So that being said, let's go ahead and dive into each of these areas. I'm going to be really keen on diving into these 2. Like I said, I don't have a lot of frame for this. Before we dive into the areas, though, I want you to understand the way that I think through me being the best in all of these areas are through a couple life themes. So I would challenge, if you don't have this already, a lot of the high performers out there who may watch this or watch the replay have these things sorted, because that's a big part of what we do in high performance coaching, is sort out what are the life themes that guide you. What are the life themes that you're committed to that keep you course corrected? What do I mean by that? Everybody that's human has days, times, moments where we just get pulled down a negative or neutral mindset. We'll be having a great day and all of a sudden something happens. Our brain drops one on us and we're just like, I was doing great until that just happened. Why did that come up? But the highest performers, they don't let that grow. They analyze it for what it is. They look at it and go, hey, you know what? That doesn't serve me. My visualization, if this helps you, is to take that negative or neutral thought, kind of pull it out visually in my brain. I kind of picture this happening. I pull it out and look at it like it's in a little ball right here. And I look at it and go, is there something for me to learn from this? No. All right. I bundled up, I squashed it down like a piece of paper, and then I just throw it. And it gets that neutral or negative thought out of my head. And then I get back on task, or I go back into a practice, listening to certain songs, doing certain things, taking a walk is another one, getting back in nature, that help me course correct. So if you're new to high performance, you're new to these kinds of things, highest performers don't have bad days. They have bad moments. Because we have really clear practices to course correct. Does that all make sense? So whatever that is for you and wherever you need to work, let me know. If you want to bundle that into, as our Mastery Community members know, we have a check-in session. Please make a note of that, send it to me, and we'll schedule that for the first quarter here, next couple weeks probably. If you're not in the Mastery Community, please reach out to me. Send me an email. Hey, Charly, I need to talk this through. Discovery calls. We've got a lot of time scheduled for first quarter 2021. And I call discovery calls is where we just get on a call, sort it out for you. If I can help, support, or direct you, I'm on it. So there's kind of two paths for you there if you feel that you need support. I just want to make sure we're clear on that. Because here's what I know. A lot of people, the number one thing for them to have a better year, maybe not their best, is to ask for more help. Is that you? Do you need more help? And you know the lens, hopefully you know the lens through which I can do that in life, through the work of high performance, in business, and online presence. That's my history in the last 30 years. Well, the last 25 on the web, the last 30 on the internet. Yep, I'm one of those old dudes who was on the internet using Gopher, Telnet, Usenet groups to sell product and help people in the wild west of the text-based version of the internet in the early 90s, late 80s, rocking it out. So as we dive into each of these areas, as I was mentioning, I have some life themes, and I want to make sure I share them with you. The first one is I approach everything, including calls, including today's work, with a sense and a drive to have joyful curiosity. I'm going to say that again, joyful curiosity. What I know about those two words is in order for me to live into them, I have to keep my self-practices in play. If I don't get my sleep, not exactly joyful. I can be a grump. To be curious, I have to have a level of mind freedom. I have to have a level of white space. Does that make sense? Like a level of openness. To go into every coaching call, over 3,000 one-on-one sessions in the last eight and a half years, I guess. And trust me, this wasn't always going on the front end of that. I finally developed this as a practice, probably at my 500th session. Joyful curiosity was the thing that people reported. Char, you just are so in this with me. I love that. Thank you so much for helping me and challenging me, but I love the energy that you have in this session. And outside of high performance coaching and outside of that work, my girls, I hope they feel it. I haven't really asked them recently. Maybe that's a good thing for me to do. How joyfully curious am I about their lives? Now, I don't know if you know, my youngest is now 16, and my oldest is now in college and 18. And we had a major pivot in about February of this year. And the pivot was this. She really didn't want to go into any kind of university or college. She had no passion for it. And if any of you know my oldest, if she's not passionate about it, she's not going to do much. So I was like, oh my gosh, as a dad, I got to figure this out. So in this very room, on this very whiteboard, we laid out a grid. And we put all of our options up. And I kind of had her say, this option of college here, I got accepted there, I got accepted here, I got accepted there. And then on the right column, we put up entrepreneur. Because she just wants to go out and sell stuff. She's an artist. She's also a digital marketer. She's also got her hands on a lot of things. She creates stuff like crazy. And this is just the way the universe works for me. Maybe it does for you. We rated in different areas that matter to her. How she felt. 0, not at all. 10, I love it. And of course, entrepreneurship rated at like an 8 as a general average. Everything else was like a 3 or less. Does that make sense? And the moment we got done with that exercise, within a day or two, through LinkedIn, completely anonymously, serendipitously, the head of the entrepreneurial program at this local university, Dr. Sandra Kay, connected with me on LinkedIn. And you may know this, if you're on LinkedIn, you get all these connections. And I'm like, did somebody hear our conversation? Because I'm just telling you, this is giving me chills. It's so serendipitous. And I'm like reaching back out to Dr. K, and then within a couple weeks we had a Microsoft Teams session, like this Zoom, what we're doing right now. It's Microsoft's version of Zoom, basically. And we got on that, and I had never seen my daughter light up as much as she did when Dr. K said, we're going to teach you how to be an entrepreneur, but we're also going to real world the experience for you. Because our drive, our dream, our goal for all of our students is to have a running, profitable business by the time they're halfway through our program. Now my daughter, when she gets passionate, she's on it. Within 3 months, they got her in the Entrepreneurial Runway program. She was accepted to that. She has her business online right now, CaldwellsCreations.com. She's selling her artwork online. And now they're taking her to the next level. She just got an entrepreneurial scholarship and money, like a couple grand, towards her business. The reason I'm sharing this story with you, and it brings me to tears to talk this through, is because of this. You gotta sort this out for you. If I was the dad who wasn't joyfully curious, would that have happened? Do you think that I would have stepped into that role? I know for me it would have been like, well, you'll sort it out, you'll figure it out. These words mean everything. They're a life anthem. My challenge for you, if you want to make 2021 your best year ever, is you sort out words that mean something to you, and you reflect on them, and you rate yourself on them. Here's what we know in the world of coaching and high performance, and this is outside of life coaching and all that kind of stuff. This is in sports too. We get words and we rate ourselves and we assess ourselves on those every day. We see growth. We don't change what we don't measure. Another aspect to this is that fail to plan. Was it fail to plan, plan to fail? Like, how are we doing this? As we bring our worksheet back into the picture here, what do we need to do more of to feel joyful curiosity? And I ask myself this, what do I need to do less of? What's holding me back from joyful curiosity? What do we need to start doing? What do we need to stop doing? So just a few things come to mind for me. One is I really needed to get my energy up. And that was something that I worked on, as many of you know. Thanks to Amy for starting me on running with the Ease into 5K app back in, 2011? You're like, Charles, that's what I'm using. And I'm like, oh, I can do that. Got the Ease into 5K app on my phone. You put earbuds in or whatever, and it says, okay, walk 30 seconds, run 20 seconds, walk 60 seconds, run. And I'm like, oh, this can be easy. The first run that I did, my legs were on fire, my lungs were burning, and I'm like, I'm not in shape. Took me a while to get over the hump. Finally, I think it was about 3 or 4 months, I was able to run a 5K. Not very fast, but I was able to do it. Felt a ton better. And it wasn't about the running. It was about me having the right level of energy for that. Does that all make sense? So, and maybe you don't know, it took me a while to get refined to these 2 words, joyful curiosity. And if you need to talk that out or do it, we're going to have a little Q&A after our training today for those on Zoom. We can do that. But my challenge for you is to just think about, as you really go after that ambition for making 2020 your best year ever, for yourself, for others, and for the world, what's sort of your life anthem, your life theme? Which brings me right into the next one when I approach the last part. And you can bet your bottom dollar that I'm bringing joyful curiosity when I think about watching David Attenborough's video and going after it. I'm going to be like, okay, it's not just a video that's informing me, it's a video that's helping me understand where I need to learn and grow so that I can have a better or bigger impact, if that's even possible, in the world, and who I need to connect with and those kind of things. The second part, and this relates to my word of the year, happiness, is I'm approaching life through the lens of fun, freedom, and growth. So think of this as a sub-theme. Fun, freedom, and growth. Going back to what I talked about with the word happiness. How can I take what I need to learn to help the world be a better place and make it fun somehow? I don't know the answer to that yet. I'm being open, honest, transparent with you. I have no idea just yet. But I'm going to keep that in mind as I think it through. Does that help? So I don't know what those words are for you, and feel free to copy these for now if you want to do that. Because I got to tell you, life from this perspective is pretty awesome. When you think about what I just told you with Paige, right? It's a pretty powerful place to be when you can approach that. with joyful curiosity. As you probably have gathered, especially the high performers, we talk a lot about presence as part of our pillars in high performance. This requires a lot of presence. Presence in the sense of being engaged, not giving gifts. But you could give gifts joyfully curious. So what is it for you from joyfully curious? And maybe you need to think that out. And maybe that's your words for now, and that's totally fine. Don't feel like you're copying. It's whatever it is for you. Fun, freedom, and growth. That's my sub-theme for 2021. I want to have fun, feel free, and when I qualify freedom, there's mind freedom, spiritual freedom, financial freedom, time freedom. There's all kinds of freedoms, right? So I'm really keen on assuring I got those things dialed in. And again, if you hear these words come up, mind freedom, and you think of it through the lens of having your best year 2021 ever, and you bring that worksheet back out, and you're like, what do I have to do more of to feel more mind freedom? What do I have to do less of? What do I need to start? What do I need to stop? And stop can mean, what do I need to get rid of in my life to feel more mind freedom? For a lot of people, that's stuff. You know, if you're on the call, raise your hand if you feel the sensation that if you reduce half your stuff, you'd have more mind freedom. Yeah? True? Like that's what happened to me in 2006. I was going through my divorce at the time, and I decided to get rid of 90% of my things. 90%. Got a shout out to Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week, for inspiring that thought. Moved into a high-rise condo and said, you know, my life theme from here forward is to live a life of experience, not stuff. Meaning that in this high-rise condo, I could just lock the door and go on an adventure. You know, maybe it's around here in Southwest Florida where I live, or maybe it's to another country. If you follow me on YouTube, you'll see we're posting all of our Switzerland videos for the last few years, along with some other life adventure videos. But there's a high level of mind freedom because I can just lock the door and go. So my question for you, this might be a difficult one for you to answer, what do you need to get rid of? What do you need to reduce? What do you need to have less of or think less about to have a higher sensation of mind freedom? Anything there for you? If you're on our live Zoom over here, I'm watching those comments. Oh, I like this. Judy's like, yeah, get rid of stuff. What's this other one? Oh yeah, Laura, I'm leaning towards fun, focused, and faithful. Yeah, that's good. I love it. Amy says, my Omar, yeah, Amy, my sister-in-law, just did this. And the way she described it sounded like she made it fun. Maybe it wasn't Amy, I don't know for sure. But you had a friend come over and she just helped you and challenged you to just finish, get rid of, cleanse. Is that true? You can share in the chat log if you're up for it. And she made it a fun experience that led to freedom. And I would have to say, and maybe I'm off, Amy, do you feel a sense of growth from this? A lot of people report when they do that work, they're like, I didn't realize I didn't need all this stuff. You know what I feel is I feel like I'm going to really be careful of what I bring into my home. If you ever read Marie Kondo's book on stuff, I can't think of what her book's titled right now, but the idea is you look at everything you have through the lens of does it bring me joy or do I find it useful? And if it doesn't match those two things, put it in a box and put it in storage or just get rid of it or donate it. And I do what I call a sweep. And we're going to be doing one pretty shortly here, where I go from one end of my condo to the other and I look at everything. Does it bring me joy or do I find it useful? And trust me, I don't have a lot of stuff. If you're here, you'll say, it's not like it's sparse, but there's not a lot of extra stuff. And what you see is what I have. I have a small storage that has just barely anything in it. Storage meaning with our condo. I don't have a storage space rented per se. Like just a couple things, like Christmas decorations and stuff like that. And that's it. And some people I know are carrying around so much stuff, it's hindering their mind freedom and their fun, freedom, and growth. And if that's you, we have the worksheet. What do you got to do more of? Every day I'm going to take a room on. That's what some people have reported to me. Every day I'm going to go after this. I'm going to start the practice of when one thing comes in, clothing, shoes, purses, whatever that is, one thing goes out. But before I do that, I'm going to just go through and cleanse my wardrobe. 5 people I've coached in the last 3 months have said, Char, in order for me to clean up 2020, I'm on that. 5 things got to go. Then I'm going to start the practice of 1 in, 1 out. And they asked me, 2 of them asked me to kind of keep them accountable to it. So at the beginning of the call, how are we doing on the 1-to-1? And they're like, I'm on it. Or I'm not. Oops. I got to donate a couple things, that kind of thing. Whatever that is, I just want to make sure I'm giving you ideas and illustrations that help you think about possible ways for you to make 2020 your best year ever. That being said, these are my life anthems and themes and sub-themes. First, bringing joyful curiosity to everything. That's my goal, to feel that 2020 is going to be my best year ever. Second is that I'm really wanting to approach, and I believe I do pretty well here, things from the fun, freedom, and growth perspective. That means if something doesn't feel fun, how can I make it fun? That means if I'm like, oh, on the world side of things, got a lot to learn. How can I do that in a fun way? We co-created this moments ago, this idea of a watch party, where we watch David Attenborough and we have each other on like our iPads or something on Zoom while we're watching the movie on a TV or on a computer, whatever it is, and we pause and we're like, oh, did you guys hear that? We need to, what's our goal here? What do we need to go after? What do we need to learn together? What kind of initiative or thing can we start? That seems like fun to me. May not be fun for you, but it seems like fun to me. And then finally, as many of you know, I live from these 5 Ps, and I help people assess their lives and their businesses through the lens of those 5 Ps. And that's to feel purposeful, to feel passionate, to feel positive, productive, and ultimately profitable in life and in business. So if you haven't been in my trainings before, if you're watching on Facebook Live or watching the replay, this is new language for you. The idea here is, what are we doing to generate purpose? And I hope, through the lens of what we've covered so far, you're sensing all this stuff ties together for that. If we're bringing joyful curiosity to the relationship with our daughter, that's high level of purpose for me. If we're bringing an emotional engagement and enthusiasm, fun, freedom, and growth, that's passion. Emotional engagement, enthusiasm, high level of energy. If we're bringing the joy, our big theme in high performance, bring the joy, bringing positivity, right? If we're feeling productive, it isn't about, and I want to make sure I'm clear on this for those of you who are not in high performance, it's not about getting more done. It's about getting the right things done. It's about going after our life's work, our life's ambitions, our bucket list, while handling our responsibilities. Does that all make sense? Ultimately, if we're in any kind of business, an entrepreneur in any form, is to make sure we're profitable, that we're bringing in more than we're spending, is the easiest kind of way to think that through. And the beauty is, through the lens of this work, is that once you dial yourself in, I would like to say that you're the high-performing person that you are capable of being, it's easy for you to make green money helping others, especially today. Especially today. When you recognize whatever gifts you might have, whether that's coaching people, like some of the work that I do, or whether it's helping people by consulting them, which is other work that I do, and then you look and learn about how you can do that from a business perspective, boom. You can actually live these 4 Ps and have the 5th one happen fairly automatically today. And I'll qualify that through the lens of recurring subscriptions. And one of the things I have is a monthly membership program. We've had that now 4 years, or we're in our 4th year, and it's generating all kinds of income, and it's on autopilot, and it just goes. And I get payments, and I have for many, many months. But I live into this work as part of that delivery, promise to help you, support you, care for you, love on you, and challenge you too as part of being a coach. And that's how that can work. Other aspects, a lot of people that I know, they're putting out content on YouTube. Some of them have monetized it, meaning that when you get to 100 or 1,000 subscribers, and on the average of 4,000 hours of view per year, you can click a button that says monetize my videos. And all that means is YouTube will show ads during your videos, and if people see those ads, you get payment for that. It's the craziest thing. I always think about it through the lens of trying to explain it to my grandparents, who are no longer here. But I'm like, because they're the old school work, 30 years at a place, get a pension, and you're doing some form of manual labor. That's just their generation. I'm like, how would I explain that to grandma? She'd be like, what? Well, I think it would be a 5-hour conversation and she'd get that much. And she's very much one of my mentors for joyful curiosity. She was very much that lady. Always joyfully curious about what I was up to, what I was trying to do. She was helping with crafts, those kind of things. Does that all make sense? I'm lucky that I had good role models here. And if you don't have a role model there for you, I want to be that role model for you. And I hope I'm doing a good job for that for you too. I don't have every day where I'm like this, and I have my times where I'm introverted and just closed down and learning and just reflecting and those kind of things. But my goal when I'm with you is to make sure that I am joyfully curious. So we've got about 15 minutes or so, and I want to make sure that we give you some tactics. So as we think through the lens, I'd love for you to share. If you're on our live Facebook with us, or our live Zoom, please put in the comments, are these 3 your areas to focus on to make 2021 your best year ever? As I mentioned, the science shows that when we dial ourselves in, we're better in our relationships, and we're better apt and able to help the world be a better place. We have that kind of energy, that reserve to go out and, got myself covered. Handling others, I'm growing my business, whatever that is for you in terms of the way you serve and support and take care of your family, your friends, your customers. And you still have energy to go out here and help the world somehow. And like I said, I'm still analyzing what that is for me. And I'm challenging you if you want to do that watch party. I've never had one, but I don't know how it works, but we can do it. To watch the David Attenborough thing and just kind of report out, hey, you know what? Here's some ideas. That's a good idea. So just report out, are these your 3 areas? And if they're not, that's totally cool. If there's more, that's totally fine too. But I would challenge you to have it visually somewhere. So as you go through the year, every morning or every evening or both, you can look at these and say, yeah, that's right. How did I do on self-care today? Taking care of me. And if you're a really high performer, you're rating yourself there. Oh, I ate like crap, didn't get my rest, didn't hydrate. Oh, it's a 5. Tomorrow will be better. Here's what I'm going to do. With others, one of the exercises I gave you was the idea of taking just the people that are reaching out to you, Happy New Year in you, and going, is there something there? Intuitively, am I feeling like I need to reach out to them, have a conversation with them, build that relationship? I would challenge you too to understand for you what it means to have and maintain a great relationship. So here's a little tactical exercise for you. Take a piece of paper or a note or whatever that is for you and write down relationships at the top, and then write down traits, qualities, characteristics. And if you're kind of writer's block in terms of filling that in, what a great relationship looks like, think back through the timeline of your life to your best friend, somebody, maybe it wasn't a friend, a family member, who was just a great role model for a great relationship. I'm going to give you some fuel for this because I think about this a lot through the lens of my grandparents, my biggest mentors in life. First, they were ultra caring. So there's one. Second, they were very compassionate towards the world, towards others, and with themselves. Now take a look at what compassion means. It's to recognize somebody's struggle and to have a desire to alleviate it. And they took action on it. So that would be the third thing. They took action. Just with what I just shared with you, we've just defined 3 characteristics. They care, they're compassionate, and they take action. Guess what you have to do with those 3 things? Get to rate yourself. Did I demonstrate care with insert person who just sent you Happy New Year's? Did I demonstrate compassion? Or did I just think about it? Did I take action? Did I text them? Did I email them? Did I pick up the phone and call them? And say, hey, if you need words to say when you start, 2021, I'm aiming to make my best year ever, and I feel like I need to be there for you more. So can we get on a routine or a rhythm where we just talk once a week? And maybe when things get safe after pandemic rules or whatever that is, or maybe they're safe enough, however you want to do that, can we go and have coffee once a week or once a month? Or get on a Zoom every other week and go after that through the other's lens? Does that all make sense? My challenge for you, as you think this through though, is to approach it from joyful curiosity. What's it going to take for you to be in the moment with them? Not be too tied to what's happened. Maybe you got in an argument with somebody just before you met with them. And maybe you're really worried about what's coming up. But be fully, joyfully curious with them. Yeah, that probably means there's no phone involved. Pet peeve is when you're sitting with me and you pick up the phone and we're having a conversation and you're just like, shut you out. I'm going to do this in the middle of a conversation. Like, come on. We know better than that. That's not being respectful, at least in my opinion. Trying to bust some chops here as we think this through. These are the things that I want to think of for you. I want you to really dive deep on. What does that look like for you? As you lay out those traits, qualities, and characteristics, I would challenge you to put in your bubble for others some of the words you need the most work on. If you've been through high performance with me or with anybody, high performance coaching in session 2, we do what's called a clarity chart. And we develop words that are areas of life that you know you want to be, but you're not that yet. They're a stretch for you. This is a very similar exercise to that. If I'm going to get into the phone call with anybody at a life level, maybe those words are joyfully curious. I'm going to think about and be intentional about in that time where I'm on that Zoom, having coffee with them, whatever it is, to bring a level of presence and engagement and joy. Does that all make sense? How did that feel? How have you been doing, by the way? I work on this diligently, and I have for the last 8 years. It's still a trick. It's still a trick. Some days I feel like somebody just took me out. They took this whiteboard of perspective and they just erased it. And I got up and I'm like, who am I again? Why is my brain over here and over here? I got to just focus on joyful curiosity. And those words are just so easy for me to remember. I don't like needles, but if I did, I might get a tattoo. Joyfully curious. Nah, I wouldn't get a tattoo. Just an idea of keeping those words, physical, somewhere that you have them. And then at the world level. So whatever those areas are for you, make sure you have those circles defined. Make sure you make them visual. And inside each of those bubbles, make sure you have areas that you want to work on. So for me, as I shared earlier, I want to have more flexibility in my being, so there's more stretching involved. So flexibility would be one of the words in my bubble. That's something I really got to work on. I do go out and run and I do go out and work out, but I don't do a lot of stretching. So that's something that I want to make sure that I'm building out there. Does that all make sense? So any words you guys want to share? I got to see this. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can repeat those, Amy, for great relationships. Care, compassion, action. So I hope that helps. Care, compassion, action. So I'm going to share a few other words that people have defined when they think of the others realm. They want to be active listeners. You know it when you hear it. A lot of people compliment me on that, and that is not something I was ever. I had to learn to do that. Where when you know there's white space, we call it in coaching, where there's a pause in the conversation, and you're just feeling awkward and you got to say something. You got to fill the white space. The best coach is to leave the white space open. And usually, not always, gold comes out from the other person because they're forced to express. They got to fill it. They got to fill it. So when we really think about great relationships, a couple themes come to mind. One, how well of an active listener are you? Where you're just, hey, tell me what your struggle is. And you're listening through it. And you're letting them speak, not cutting them off, not filling white space, but giving them a lot of white space. Two, how well are you doing at this phrase that we use in high performance influence? People support what they create. Everything's a co-creation. Say that one more time. People support what they create. Everything's a co-creation. How well are you doing at co-creating? When I had my daughter in the room here and we were going through that exercise, it wasn't me dictating all this stuff. Oh, these are the colleges, this is what's going on. I'm like, what are the things that you would want to measure to feel, that this is kind of a complete way of thinking through each individual university or just doing your own thing? And she came up with those things. What would you give the measurement? That's a co-creative conversation. Does that all make sense? So if there's two things to bring fun, freedom, and growth to for you, maybe, and I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I'm just giving you ideas illustratively. One is that idea of active listening. Second one is the idea of co-creating. So often it's like, I'm going to tell you what to do, and why are my kids not doing what I want them to do? Where when you turn that conversation around, this is very hard to change behaviorally. I've worked with a lot of people in this realm. They're like, if you were the parent, how would you handle this? Oh, is that line hard to deliver for parents who are used to dishing stuff out? And sometimes, a few people have said, I just sat down, crisscross applesauce, and was like, pout. And the child is in a behavioral pattern that they're not liking. They turn around and go, Mom, what are you doing? I'm you. Be the parent. Tell me what I got to do. And they pout. And the child's like, what just happened? And the mom, in this case, played the role of the child. And the kid all of a sudden developed, shared, demonstrated parenting abilities. Well, you shouldn't do that because that's what I was trying to tell you. I'm glad you were able to tell me. Does that all make sense, or is that too abstract? Co-creation is incredibly huge. If you guys want to practice co-creation with me, to role play that, I would be happy to have some form of a workshop or Zoom, whatever you want, where we just do that for, I don't care, hours. And we'll bring a lot of fun, freedom, and growth and joyful curiosity to it. I'd love to do that. That's the single most powerful, in 2020, as I reflected back, thing that I've done with a few of the people I've been blessed to work with, to really help them get out of their own head and stop feeling, this is the phrasings they use, like they're babysitting their kids, or in the business world, babysitting their employees. When I hear people say I'm babysitting my employees, I understand. What I'm hearing them say is, I don't know how to lead well. I need leadership training. I need to understand people's where they create. I need to step up my game. I need to grow. That's what I hear. Does that all make sense? So, as we wrap up, what do we have here? We've got a couple minutes left. I want to make sure we're clear on a few things. In order to make 2021 your best year ever, 3 moves. The ones I suggest, you can use them or you can make them your own, whatever that is for you, is to work on yourself. What are you doing to take care of yourself, to feel what we call in high performance that fully charged life? To really go after that zest and connection, that lean, clean energy. And when I'm saying these words, I'm thinking about kale shakes. Why? Because when I made the pivot in 2011 to 2012, introduced 80% nutrient-rich eating, lean, clean energy just started to come out of me. Does that make sense? It's amazing what goes in this little mouth can affect how you feel in a major way. Next, relationships, others. What are you doing to help, support, care for, take care of, grow relationships with others? And I got to tell you, we didn't talk about this, but we're going to talk about it right now. Who in your world do you need to be seeing less of? Do you need to stop talking to? The highest performers are really clear on that. If you're going to spend time in drama, gossip, blame, excuse, denial, I'm not going to be part of your scene. And they say it. They deliver it with love and growth, but they say those things. And on the other side, I'm a person who's more about ownership, accountability, responsibility, dreams, goals, ambitions, and I'm going after stuff. Come with me or stay over there. I don't want to talk to you. So maybe there's a list here that we got to work on. And sometimes a lot of the people that I work with, they're living with those people, and that's a heavy-duty conversation. You know, it can result in separation, and I've worked with people there. It can result in trial separation. I've worked with people there. I'm not a therapist, just to be clear, or a counselor, but I help people understand that part of their future vision, that's coaching, future vision work, and then I set them up with therapists and counselors to make sure, and I've referred at least half a dozen people in the last 3 months to therapists and counselors, and 4 of them now in the last week have reported out it's been very helpful for them to be better, or to come up with mechanisms and ways to mitigate certain parts, certain relationships, certain parts of them and certain relationships too. Does that all make sense? So if you're feeling that at all, let me know, because I got a great set of resources for that. That's why I like to say I help, support, and direct. Because the direct, I'm the connector guy there. Then finally, the world piece. What are we doing to make the world a better place? And that could be planting more trees, down to getting into David Attenborough's thing and figuring out like that, or learning from others, right? What are we doing tactically, action-oriented, to make the world a better place? And then I want to finally recap my life themes. And maybe if you're up for it in the chat log, you can share, as I do this, one thing that you absolutely needed to hear, think through, or loved about today's New Year's Day Jumpstart. I'd love to hear about it. So go ahead, take some time, write that up while I go through my life themes. One thing that you absolutely needed to hear, think through, or you loved about the work we did today in today's live cast. I'd love to hear it. And if you're watching this live on Facebook, comment below too. Whatever that is for you, would love to see what you got. So my life themes, as I think about how I'm going to approach these things, always bringing joyful curiosity. If you're with me and you sense that I don't have this, please virtually, if we're on Zoom, punch me. Just kidding. Hey, Char, where's your joyful curiosities? Lucas, I'm looking at you, man. Because Lucas and I got a lot of stuff going, working on a lot of stuff for the world benefit and for others. as we get into first quarter here. So if I'm not joyfully curious, Lucas, dude, check me. Next, fun, freedom, and growth. That's how I'm approaching it. What are your life anthems, sub-themes, if you will? And then how are you assessing yourself? I assess myself on purpose, passion, positivity, productivity, and profit. And not profit from like, I got to make all the money in the world and I got to get rich quick. That's not what I'm talking about. Just making sure I'm taken care of. If you structure it the way I teach, the P, the last P, and the 5 Ps happens automatically. You don't have to worry about it. Literally, you don't have to worry about it. And you may be bringing your own sort of baggage to that, just history of whatever that is for you, not to demean you or anything along those lines, but we may need to work on that. And that's why if you're in our mastery community, that's a check-in call. If you're not, let's get on a discovery call. Just reach out to me, direct message me, whatever it is, and we'll set something up in the next few weeks. Final piece for you tactically. If those 5 Ps matter, and I just want to make sure you can see this, I do a weekly assessment where each P, purpose, passion, positivity, productivity, and profit, have a checkbox. And rather than check the box, I write in the number in those boxes of how well I did in the last week. Did I live purposefully in the last week? 0, not at all. I was either sick, so somebody duct taped me to my bed, fed me intravenously, and wouldn't let me do anything, or I just was not living it, just not doing it. Passionately, how well did I really, and to me it's joyfully curious as part of this, so I'd rate myself here. Positive, did I bring the joy? Did I do that right here, right now with you? Productively, was I going after the life's work? Was I also taking care of my responsibilities? And profitably, was I growing? Was I saving? Was I investing? Was I helping the world too? Then I'm going to leave you with my 3 power questions and we'll end this beautiful training. And that is, at the end of every week, the very first power question I ask after I do that assessment is, what did I get right last week? So if you want to write these down or put them in the chat log, feel free. What did I get right last week? That comes from a place and a celebration of being grateful, right? Second, what did I get wrong last week and why? What did I get wrong last week and why? And that comes from a place of accountability. So what did I get right last week? Great gratitude. What did I get wrong last week and why? That's accountability. And this is the pivotal piece. And if you take action on this every week, you have 52 times this next year to make life so much better, especially through the lens of this. What's going to change next week? How and when? What's going to change next week? How and when? And if you need a lens to kind of look through that question with, go back to the worksheet visualization. What am I going to do more of next week based on what I've learned this week? What am I going to do less of next week? And sometimes people have shared when I go over this, they're like, I'm going to talk less to that friend who I thought was my best friend, who I get out of the calls and I feel like I got to go for a walk and reset because I'm in a down place. What am I going to start doing next week? What am I going to stop doing? You see how powerful this simple, more or less start-stop exercise can be towards that? Can you imagine your life if for the next 52 weeks you ran through the 5 Ps and you had kind of framed and set some intention about what those could be, and then you asked those questions, and then you made your action list for the next week? I know that's a lot. And the high performers are like, done, I do that. I do my version of that. Some of the people who are brand new to personal development, self-improvement are like, that's way too much work. What? No way. But if you have that attitude and you wonder why 3 months, 6 months, 12 months from now, nothing's changed or things have gotten worse or stayed the same, there you go. You've got to commit to taking decisive action. So that being said, I just want to send you tons of love, positive, caring energy. Know that I'm here for you. If you need help, support, and it's a journey, not a destination, to make this year your best year and live into this. And I'm going to make sure this training is available as a replay for 72 hours, and I'll probably put it up for our Master Community members permanently so you can get back in and reassess this maybe every quarter. Just go through, do that, but also reach out to me. Let me know if you're in the Master Community, you need a check-in call. Char, stuff came up. I'm trying to build my visualization. Need some insight, need some illustration, need some challenge. If you're not, feel free to schedule a discovery call with me. I don't have an online scheduling system. I don't like that stuff. Just reach out to me and we'll build a relationship. just go in and say, Char, I need that, and then I'll tell you what I got for availability, and we'll go from there. Does that sound okay? So, that being said, my job here today is complete. I hope we've really created this beautiful way for you to jumpstart 2021. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the live stream to Facebook, and I'm going to get right into the Zoom. I'm going to put my headphones on, and we'll have a little Q&A up until noon, and make sure that I at least get some seed ideas and take care of you. Thank you so much for being here with me and rocking it out. That was amazing.